Hey everyone, Turd-Flinging Monkey here. I want to talk about the red pill rage. Now, I realize that I'm not the first to cover this subject. There's been many MGTOW channels that have talked about this. I'm probably going to be retreading a little bit. I haven't watched every channel, every video on the subject, so I may be repeating things that other people have already said. Other people may have said it better than me. These are just my opinions, my thoughts about the red pill rage, what it is, what we can do about it, whether it's a good or a bad thing. So to understand the red pill rage, we need to understand what it means to be a man. Now, there's an old saying that men need to be needed. It's a very common saying, and for the most part it's true. What it means is that men need to have some sort of purpose, something to give their life meaning. Now, for women, it's not much of an issue, because their purpose is to make babies. So as long as they squeeze out a couple kids during their lifetime, they can slap themselves on the back and claim that they lived a fulfilling life. Now, for a man, this is a little bit more difficult. A man just can't come inside a woman's vagina and just dust his hands off and claim that he lived a fulfilling life. He has to make some sort of mark on the world. Now, for some men, simply raising their kids satisfactorily so that none of them end up to be serial killers, that's all they aspire to. Other men want more. This need to find some sort of greater purpose or meaning to your life is very common in men. It's probably common to all men, I would imagine. And it is from this that the red pill rage stems from. And this is the reason why I'm starting here. Men have this idea in their heads, starting from a very early age, about, having a wife and a family. And it is only when they realize that the entire system is designed to destroy them if they should do that, that they experience what we call the red pill rage. And what is the red pill rage? It is the stripping away of their meaning, of their purpose. These are men who wanted to have a wife, wanted to have a family, and it was only when the realization about how terrible the system was, how counterproductive it was to their interests, that their self-preservation instinct overrode those desires and they realized they had to walk away from it. And with that, they lost their sense of purpose and identity. In fact, what is a traditionalist? A modern traditionalist is someone who is blue pill in the truest sense. Now, we throw around terms like red pill and blue pill all the time, but realistically, in the Matrix, in the movie franchise, everyone isn't by default blue pill. To be blue pill, you have to be offered the red pill or the blue pill. You have to recognize that the Matrix more or less exists, or at least suspect it does, and then reject the red pill and choose the blue pill. And that is what it means to be blue pill. To simply be unaware of the Matrix doesn't make you blue pill, it makes you unawakened. But to be blue pill is to choose the blue pill when the red pill is offered. And traditionalists are the epitome of a blue pill person. They recognize the gynocentrism, they recognize the misandry, and yet they choose the blue pill anyway. They choose to walk back on the plantation when they have the power to walk away from it. And why do they do this? They will tell you that it's because they have this desire to have kids, to have a family, to support society. This is how they define themselves. This is that greater purpose, that need to be needed that they have. And they're fulfilling it by sacrificing themselves. Now, they look at it as fulfilling because it gives them something they can aspire to. It gives their life meaning. Yeah, they're not living for themselves, they're living for their children, their wife, for society. Their dreams and their goals and their aspirations are completely gone, but they have that sense of identity. They feel like they're a part of something. They fulfill that need to be needed. Now, other men don't make that choice. When offered the red or blue pill, they take the red pill. But then comes the red pill rage. They've now given up that sense of meaning, that sense of purpose. That could be very traumatic to a man. If you've lived your whole life preparing for this journey of having a wife and a family, the white picket fence, all that stuff, and now that's taken away from you, and you realize it can never happen. It's not just a matter of finding the right woman. If you find the right woman, you're still fucked because the laws and everything like that are against you. She could just choose to leave you. When you understand female nature, it's not a question of a good woman or a bad woman. The difference between a good woman and a bad woman is just opportunity and upbringing. But a good woman, when put in the wrong environment, can become a bad woman. And a bad woman, when put in the good environment, can become a good woman. I mean, female nature doesn't change. If you're from a traditional kind of conservative background, maybe you grew up on a farm or something, or you grew up in a Muslim country or something like Asia, you're probably going to be a quote-unquote good woman. But if you take those women, put them in, a Western country with all these feminist laws and so forth, they become bad women. And maybe they don't. I mean, there are some women who maybe they're very religiously devout, and they'll continue to hold on to their religious upbringing despite the laws favoring them and giving them every opportunity to screw over their husband. But that's a very risky gambit. You're just hoping that she never has any sort of crisis of faith at any point and decides that she doesn't believe in God, or she doesn't believe this part or that part of the Bible, and just decides to fuck you in the ass. But anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. So the red pill rage is literally when a man gives up on what the purpose and meaning of his life was intended to be until that moment. And they've now had that stripped away from them. And that loss of meaning, it may be very difficult to understand if you've never experienced this yourself. But that loss of meaning, that loss of purpose in a man's life, is what leads to suicide during divorces. I mean, one of the leading causes of suicides are divorces and being laid off of your job. Now, why? It's not just the loss of income. I mean, money is money. If a man went bankrupt or whatever, he wouldn't necessarily kill himself. But when he loses his job, when he loses his family, he loses his identity. He defined his life. His whole life was built around doing that job, serving that family, being a father, being a husband, being a worker. This is who he was. And when all those things are taken away from him, it's like he's already dead. So he might as well just put the gun in his mouth and pull the trigger. And that's why so many men commit suicide. It's not just being taken to divorce court and having your shit taken away. It's the complete loss of identity. It's the loss of meaning in your life. When your life loses all meaning, suicide seems like a very viable option. But that loss of meaning can be expressed in different ways. It can be turned inward, like suicide, or it can be turned outward in what we call the red pill rage, where men who've been stripped of their identity, stripped of their meaning and purpose, lash out at the world, lash out at the society that fucked them over, and rightfully so. This is why I don't think the red pill rage is a bad thing. It's a very healthy thing. However, you should strive to move past the anger as quickly as possible, not necessarily trying to short-circuit the process, but understanding that it's not a healthy place to be. Because anger clouds judgment, depression saps energy. If you want to live your best life, you need your energy, you need your judgment. So anger and depression are not your friends. But it is very healthy to express anger and depression when they're appropriate. Now, in one of my very first videos that I ever produced on this channel called Capable of Anything, I talked about this idea of finding new purpose in your life through internal validation. And I talked about this again in my Enemies of Man series. The key to overcoming red pill rage, and the key to living a life free of the manipulations of gynocentric society, which will try to enslave you using shame, or try to get you to sacrifice your life for them, for a pat on the head or whatever, you need to have a sense of internal validation. You need to be able to judge yourself and not be judged by others. You need to stop giving a shit. And I know that's easy to say and hard to live, but that is really the key. So just as a callback to my older video, one of the things you need to do to develop a sense of internal validation is set goals for yourself. And they should be personal goals of things you want to do, things that will make your life better. And then as you accomplish those goals, you have that validation for yourself. You don't need other people to tell you how awesome you are or anything like that, because you're doing what you wanted to do. You're accomplishing the goals you set for yourself. You are your only judge. That is extremely important. The reason why shame is such a common tactic with traditionalists and feminists is because it works. And it works because men desire external purpose and validation. You need to develop your own internal sense of validation, your own internally driven sense of purpose and meaning. Ultimately, unless you're religious, and I'm not going to judge you if you are, but unless you're religious, life has no meaning. We're here, we eat, we sleep, we fuck, we die. But it's up to you. The meaning of life is to give your life meaning. So you have everything before you. You could do whatever you want, or whatever you're capable of doing. So do it. You don't need anyone's permission. Just do it. Now, if you really just have to sire children, continuing your genetic legacy is the most important thing you can do, then become an anonymous sperm donor. Now, I would caution you not to do that in the West. They're actually taking people who donate sperm to court to pay child support, which is fucking bullshit. So be aware of that. But you go to like Asia and stuff like that, they love Western men. They want to have Western babies. So I'm sure there's some Asian women out there that would love your Western sperm, and they will continue your genetic legacy. And you don't have to have anything to do with the kids. Just make your deposit and roll out. Now, if you want to have those like precious moments with these little boys, and that's what you want someone to teach and pass your philosophy and wisdom onto, you could donate your time at somewhere like Big Brothers. Help these kids of single moms actually have a positive male role model. Now, there's going to be like a huge background check because, of course, as a man, you're an assumed pedophile. But if you think it's really important that you bond with a child, then go ahead and volunteer your time at one of these organizations. There are ways to do this without actually sacrificing your life and having a family of your own. So just be creative, think outside the box, protect yourself, and live the life you want on your terms. This is Turd Flinging Monkey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.